question is for you, Tim, is what did Jesus mean in Matthew 8 when he said, let the dead bury their dead?
Oh, my goodness. That is a powerful text. In fact, I like Luke's version of that in Luke 9:57 through 62. But really, I think it helps to get a context because you have Jesus who is revealing to the world that he is not just the Messiah, but he is Almighty God. And Jesus does this in many different ways, and he'll say, after he makes these astonishing statements, he'll say things like, one greater than Solomon is here, or or he'll indicate someone greater than Moses, someone greater, right? And whoa, it up to and including statements like Mark 2:28, right? The Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. Oh my goodness, what did you just say? According to Exodus chapter 20, verse 10, Yahweh is the Lord of the Sabbath. So can you repeat that for me, Jesus, right? Yeah, the Son of Man is the Lord of the Sabbath. Well, this is an example like that, because if you notice, if you go to Luke's version in Luke 9:57 through 62, you have a guy that comes up to him and says, Lord, I want to follow you. I want to be your disciple. I'll follow you wherever you want to go. And Jesus, what does he say? Foxes have holes, birds have nests. The Son of Man doesn't even have a place to lay his head. In other words, this is not exactly, being excited about, oh, you want to follow me? I'm so happy. Here, come and let me give you something to eat. No, if anything, he appears to push people away because he says, foxes have holes, birds have nests. Son of Man doesn't even have a place to lay his head. In other words, are you sure you want to follow me, right? And then the next guy, and this is the next guy that you're mentioning, comes up and says, Lord, I want to follow you, but first let me go bury my father. And Jesus says, let the dead bury their dead. You come and follow me. And then another guy says, Lord, I want to follow you, but first let me bid farewell to my family. And he says, anyone putting his hand to the plow and looking back is not fit for the kingdom of heaven. So notice, this is a radical call to discipleship, but it's in a particular context, because you'll notice that plow. Any Jew listening is full, well and aware of, I should say full and well aware
of.
How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, we're having trouble today, Si.
I'm at my usual level.
I'm having trouble.
I always have this trouble. Yeah. Welcome to my level.
Any Jew listening knows full and well what Jesus is referring to, because you probably remember in 2 Kings, the first few chapters, where you have Elisha who meets Elijah. Right? And he is going to be the successor of Elijah. But first, he says, I have to go back and take care of my family. And so he goes back, and he famously, he was plowing. He had been plowing. What is it, with like several yokes of oxen? I think it's like 4 yokes. Just to give you a sense of Elisha, his determination, he would plow with like 4 yokes of oxen or something crazy like that. You imagine how difficult that is to handle 4. But at any rate, he goes back and first takes care of his family, and then he follows Elijah. So this is one of these examples of how, no, you're following me, not Elijah.
Yes.
Someone greater than Elijah is here.
Right.
If you put your hand to the plow and look back, you're not fit for the kingdom. In the same way, I want to bury my father. This is a reasonable request, but Jesus is revealing something here, that he is Almighty God, the God-man, God incarnate, and he is calling us to absolute commitment. Nothing can come before him. And so he has the authority to make these kinds of calls. Now, if Cy Kellett told me, Tim, I need your help over here. Hey, I got to bury my father, Cy. No, I would laugh at Cy Kellett and go bury my father, right? Because Cy doesn't have this kind of authority. This is what we're getting at here. These radical statements of our blessed Lord are examples of his divine authority. That, man, this guy is not just any prophet. He's not just a king. He's not just any priest. He is Almighty God. And that is absolutely crucial for us. Every follower of Jesus has to come to that point the way, like St. Peter did when the question was, who do men say that I am, right? Some say you're Jeremiah, you're Elijah, you're this prophet, you're that prophet. But who do you say that I am? Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. We must come to that realization in our lives so that we know that God comes absolutely first before anyone, anything in our lives. And when he comes to us with our personal calling, we really do have to drop everything and follow him. But now the follow-up, I know, we always get to this, but how does that apply today? Does that mean that we shouldn't bury our parents? No, that's not the point of the story. However, there are cases in our lives where we will have to make radical decisions in our individual walks with Jesus. But this is not a general principle of, no, you can never bury your parents. You have to follow Jesus. No. This is a revelation of who Jesus Christ is and the radical call to discipleship.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this Catholic Answer, be sure to like, subscribe, and check out our live streams Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific. Or find the episode after on YouTube, your favorite podcast platform, or our Catholic Answers app.